In a world ravaged by cruel and merciless monsters, Lin awakens from his slumber amidst a heap of refuse, rain cascading down upon him. As his gaze scans the desolate and chaotic surroundings, a whirlwind of emotions engulfs him, reflecting on his own frailty and the circumstances that led to his downfall. Anger courses through his veins, igniting an insatiable thirst for vengeance. Yet, amidst the tempestuous turmoil of his thoughts, a voice pierces through the darkness, capturing his attention. Startled, Lin turns around, his eyes widening as he beholds a figure standing before him. At first glance, the man appears unremarkable, but as he turns, revealing his true form, Lin is overwhelmed by a sense of dread. The man's once human facade contorts into a grotesque and monstrous visage, a chilling reminder of the horrors that populate this world. Confusion clouds Lin's mind as he struggles to comprehend the reality that confronts him. Suddenly, the enigmatic man hurtles toward Lin with malevolent speed, his mouth contorting into a nightmarish maw. Trapped and defenseless, Lin resigns himself to his grim fate, bracing for the imminent demise that awaits him. Yet, fate takes an unexpected turn as a scarlet pair of scissors hurtles through the air, cleaving through the attacker's monstrous form. With a resounding impact, the figure dissipates into the void, vanquished. Emerging from the shadows, a woman garbed in vibrant red steps forward, her presence a stark contrast to the unfolding horrors. Before Lin can gather his thoughts or express his gratitude, the woman, now captivating and enchanting, poses a question: "Do you find me beautiful?" Caught off guard by her sudden transformation, Lin finds himself entranced by her allure. Succumbing to the spell woven by her captivating charm, he utters an emphatic yes. In an instant, the woman's features twist once again, assuming a countenance so terrifying that it sends shivers down Lin's spine. With an endearing familiarity, she addresses him as "little brother," persisting in her quest for validation, tempting him with her seductive ways. Though Lin is drawn to her seduction, he remains wary of the peril lurking beneath her guise. His mind races, contemplating the best course of action to ensure his survival. Amidst the chaos, a realization dawns upon him: this is a game he has played countless times before, where appearances deceive and survival reigns supreme. As if responding to his revelation, the system governing his existence undergoes a swift update. A new quest materializes, presenting Lin with a choice: to kiss the girl standing before him. Determined to unravel the enigma surrounding her, Lin leans forward and gently presses his lips against hers. In an unexpected twist, the woman dissolves into a pool of liquid, her demeanor now bashful and coy. Eager to learn more, Lin discovers that her name is Hong Yi, and she promises a future encounter, leaving him with a sense of anticipation and curiosity. Empowered by the recent events that have transpired, Lin raises his finger towards the heavens, summoning an otherworldly force. From the ethereal realm, a mysterious figure descends, its unfathomable might palpable to all who bear witness. The reverberations of their clash echo through the air, and as the dust settles, Lin stands in awe of the transformation that has taken place within him. He realizes that he has attained an SSS-level ability, an unrivaled power that surpasses his previous limitations. Though his foundational strengths may be lacking, the potential for invincibility lies within his grasp. Fueled by newfound determination coursing through his veins, Lin sets his sights on the horizon, prepared to confront the treacherous trials that lie ahead in this tumultuous world of monsters and mayhem. Lin envisions himself lounging in a beach chair, basking in the sun, while beautiful girls in swimsuits serve him refreshing cocktails and snacks. The mere thought of such a glamorous lifestyle fills him with excitement and anticipation. However, his daydream is abruptly interrupted by a red alert from the system, signaling the presence of a formidable demon nearby. Without even sparing a glance at the demonic entity, resembling a black cloud with fiery red eyes, Lin swiftly retreats from the area. Despite his newfound abilities, he acknowledges his own vulnerabilities and decides it's wiser to avoid unnecessary trouble. Escaping unscathed can also be seen as a form of victory, and it might even earn him the respect of his adversaries. After a long and arduous journey, Lin finally arrives home, thoroughly exhausted. As he stands on the porch, he gazes at the magnificent and imposing mansion before him. It's his first time visiting such an extravagant residence, and it makes him slightly nervous. He takes a moment to calm himself, reminding himself that his loved ones are most likely inside. Opening the door, he is greeted by his younger sister, Lin Shi, affectionately known as Shi, who seems to have just woken up. Rubbing her eyes, she asks her brother why he took so long to come home. Lin, momentarily forgetting that he has a younger sister named Lin Shi, known affectionately as Shi, notices that she's concerned about his injuries. He reassures her that there's no cause for worry, explaining that he simply slipped on a wet road. She prepares a ginger tea concoction for her brother and applies a bandage to his face. Placing the cup of tea on the table, she reflects on her memories of her new life. She was a child who was adopted by the Lin family after the passing of her biological parents. Living with her older sister, Hua, and younger brother, Lin, both of whom possess remarkable intelligence and talent, she often feels like the odd one out. She has endured a lifetime of sarcastic ridicule from others. 3 years ago, Lin Hua, thanks to her extraordinary abilities, was selected for the Superpowers Department, resulting in her infrequent presence at home due to her demanding schedule. The responsibility of caring for his younger sister fell on Lin, the middle brother. He felt utterly inadequate, struggling to take care of himself, let alone a child. After sipping the ginger tea concoction, Lin immediately spits it out as someone bursts into the living room, screaming and demanding that his head be cut off. Wiping away the droplets, Lin looks at the intruder who has dared to barge into his house in such a barbaric manner and startle him. It turns out to be Chu Junyao, a childhood friend of Lin's. Pointing an accusatory finger at him, Junyao demands an immediate explanation of how he had the audacity to return home this morning, after confessing his love to her in front of the entire class through a loudspeaker. She insists on hearing the truth. Lin believes that his confession to Junyao and the murder behind the school are somehow connected, but he knows he must first deal with Junyao before delving into the rest. Lin tilts his chin up and playfully pokes his little finger into Junyao's nose, reminiscent of their childhood antics. However, his friend takes it far more seriously, growing genuinely furious. Clenching her fists and launching a kick towards Lin, she tries to vent her anger. Unfortunately for her, Lin expertly evades the attack, not without noticing her friend's exposed underwear. It's an embarrassing moment, carefully getting to her feet as Junyao blushes and grows even more infuriated. Just as Junyao is about to launch a second attack, Lin's younger sister steps between them, commanding Junyao to stop causing a scene and stay away from her older brother. Junyao crosses her arms over her chest, snorting in defiance, claiming she won't stoop down to the level of a child. But the little girl simply dismisses her words, unfazed by her departure. As Junyao leaves, she reminds Lin about the aptitude tests scheduled for tomorrow. Only students with a grade of C or higher are eligible to enter the prestigious Kanglin Academy. Beaming with pride, Junyao declares that she has already awakened her own abilities, securing her place in the academy alongside individuals like her. For her, all doors are open. Seizing the opportunity to humiliate her old friend, Junyao vividly describes how Lin will remain at the bottom, attending a third-rate university and living an ordinary life. Lin is once again confronted with a system task, presented with different actions to choose from. Option 1 is to remain silent, with a reward of 2,000 dexterity points. Option 2 is to apologize to Chu Junyao and admit that she was right, offering a reward of 10,000 strength points. Option 3 is to disagree with Junyao and swear to awaken his ability at all costs, granting a reward of 5 strength points. Although the reward in the second choice seems tempting, Lin's pride won't allow him to agree to such a thing. He boldly declares that he will not only awaken his ability but also gain admission to the esteemed Kanglin Academy. Junyao is incredibly angry at his audacious statement, finding his self-praise pathetic. However, Lin receives his well-deserved reward from the system, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Junyao, on the other hand, remains unimpressed. She believes that throwing words around like a master is easy, but acquiring true strength is more important and challenging. She promises that Lin will regret his words. Amidst the exchange, she is the only one who takes his words seriously, encouraging him and genuinely believing in his potential for success. Later, as a gentle breeze wafts through the room, carrying the scent of maple leaves, Lin peacefully drifts off to sleep on his bed beside the window. In the tranquility of the night, Hong-yi, symbolized by the arrival of the maple leaves, approaches him. She lies down next to Lin, gently stroking his chin, and reminds him that he will have to take responsibility for stealing her first kiss. In the morning, Lin hurriedly left home, clutching breakfast in his teeth, eager to start his day. She wished him good luck, her voice filled with genuine concern and support. With a determined smile, Lin assured her that he would pass the aptitude tests with flying colors. He proudly proclaimed himself as the coolest brother who wouldn't let their older sister down. The bond between the siblings was evident in their interactions, radiating warmth and affection. As chaos engulfed the streets, Lin devoured his food while deep in thought, recalling a strange dream he had the previous night. The dream involved him sleeping with the demon Hong-yi, and the vividness of the experience made it feel as if it had occurred in reality. The memory lingered in his mind, creating a mix of curiosity and unease. Upon arriving at Kanglin High School, the designated site for the ability exam, Lin witnessed fellow students gathering in the bustling atmosphere. Junyao, a prominent figure in the school, sat in a spacious auditorium, flanked by 2 guards. She took charge of calling out the names of students who had arrived ahead of the rest, displaying her authoritative nature. Lin noticed a tall, blond man in the crowd and tapped him on the shoulder, hoping to get his attention. However, his action was met with a swift pull, accompanied by a shout of surprise. The blond man recognized Lin and realized that, for some reason, Lin was still alive when he should have been dead. Lin recognized the man as Yang-yi, triggering memories of their rivalry for Chu's affection and raising suspicions about Yang's involvement in the previous incidents, targeting him. A sense of determination surged within Lin as he vowed not to let Yang escape the consequences of his actions. A stern-looking man with square glasses caught Lin's attention. Assuming him to be the examiner, Lin listened attentively as the man announced that the exam was commencing that day and emphasized its importance in shaping their future. Only students with a grade C ability or higher would be eligible to enter Kanglin Academy. The examiner urged everyone to take the exam seriously, highlighting the gravity of the situation. The first examinee, Wang Xiaoming, was called forward, his trembling presence reflecting the pressure not to disgrace himself. Xiaoming nervously placed his hand on a blue glowing sphere, which symbolized the awakening of abilities. To everyone's disappointment, a frying pan, an F-class item, appeared on the screen behind him, indicating his failure. Xiaoming's jaw dropped in disbelief as he exited the stage, followed by 2 more students who left in tears, overwhelmed by their complete failure. The audience couldn't help but burst into laughter at their expense, their amusement echoing throughout the auditorium. Next in line was Yang-yi, his confident demeanor and a support group seated behind him amplifying the anticipation. Yang-yi confidently touched the sphere, and to everyone's surprise, a hellhound appeared on the screen, indicating the awakening of a Class Beast ability. This revelation shocked Junyao, who hadn't expected Yang-yi to possess such strength and awaken a class ability. Female fans seated in front of Junyao started praising Yang-yi for his achievement, captivated by his newfound power. Lin Xiao was called to the stage next, his presence drawing smirks and snickers from the crowd. Lin was known among his peers as an individual without any notable abilities or talents, causing him to be the subject of ridicule. Yang Shi, in particular, looked down on Lin with disdain, fully embodying the superiority complex shared by many. As Lin stepped onto the stage, bidding farewell to the last shreds of his dignity, something unexpected happened. Instead of being met with ridicule, Lin received appreciative bows from the crowd, leaving them stunned and the examiner visibly displeased. In that moment, the audience began to realize that there was more to Lin than met the eye. Unfazed by the skepticism around him, Lin boldly asked everyone to let go of their prejudices and arrogance because his moment of glory was about to unfold. With newfound confidence, he placed his hand on the sphere, igniting a surge of energy that left the entire audience stunned, their mouths hanging open in disbelief. The flawed F-class symbol on the screen burned away, replaced by the resplendent SSS-class symbol, signifying the awakening of Lin's extraordinary ability. The room erupted into noise, the jokes about him quickly fading away as the reality of his potential sank in. Even Yang Yi remarked that Lin had not disappointed him, a begrudging acknowledgement of his rival's newfound strength. In a moment of complete despair, Lin felt the gentle touch of a woman's hands on his cheeks. A voice assured him that he needed help, providing a glimmer of hope. Before he could turn around, the demon Hong Yi, surrounded by swirling maple leaves, swiftly grabbed him from behind. She had come to lend him a helping hand, augmenting the potential of his ability. The encounter added a mystical and otherworldly dimension to Lin's journey. The examiner, sweating and astounded, announced that Lin had achieved an entirely new record, a potential for an S-class ability. With diligence and training, those with such potential could reach even higher ranks. The room was filled with a mix of awe and disbelief, with the exception of Jun Yao, who wore an extremely pleased expression. The examiner declared that although Lin's ability was initially classified as FFF class, his untapped potential was of the S-class, 1 in a million. Based on this exceptional result, it could be assumed that Lin had passed the exam with flying colors. Lin victoriously raised his hands high, promising to become the strongest in the future and defying the doubts of his peers. Later, at the waiting area for the second stage of the exams, Yang passed by Lin, unable to resist the opportunity to belittle him once again. He called Lin a scum, emphasizing that even with such high potential, he would never change or rise above his current status. Yang wore a sly smile, relishing in his superiority. Lin, recognizing the envy emanating from Yang, confidently remarked how someone as jealous as him could never understand the strength he possessed. Yang's anger surged, and he grabbed Lin by the collar, demanding an explanation of how a supposed trash could be the subject of envy. In response, Lin unleashed a punch directly at Yang's face, fulfilling his request and asserting his newfound strength. The system rewarded him with a +3 increase in strength, further solidifying his progress. Their dispute was interrupted by the arrival of a combative-looking girl, her presence commanding attention. She reminded the students that the second stage was about to begin and urged them to follow her if they wanted to participate. The serpent symbol adorning her attire indicated her affiliation with Kanglin Academy, piquing the interest and curiosity of those around her. Students were riding buses along a winding mountain road on the outskirts of Kanglin, their destination being the Kanglin Academy. Among them, a combat-savvy girl named Su Tang stood out, known to be a senior student and the current examiner for the second stage of the exam. This stage held immense significance, as it determined whether the participants would be accepted as official students into the prestigious academy. Lin, however, seemed more captivated by Su Tang's legs than by her words, a fact that did not go unnoticed by her. She glanced in his direction, causing Lin to snap back to reality and realize that his lack of focus wasn't going well for him. Just as the buses entered a tunnel, a swarm of creatures burst out, colliding with the vehicle's glass windows. The chaos caused the bus drivers to lose control, leading to a sudden halt and even a flipped bus. Panic quickly ensued as the bat-like creatures continued to circle above them. Stepping out of the overturned bus, Lin demanded to know what had caused the accident. He observed the swarm of creatures, baffled by their sudden appearance. Su Tang, with a menacing aura, interrogated the situation, surprised that they hadn't reached the exam venue yet. Taking charge, she ordered everyone to stay together, stating that they needed to confront the creatures. Other students armed themselves with weapons and rallied around her, filling the air with a resounding battle cry. Lin found himself taken aback by the sudden turn of events, realizing that they were thrust into a life-or-death struggle. To his surprise, the person standing next to him threatened that this time, Lin would meet his end. As a monster hurtled towards him, Yang swiftly caught it with one hand, tossing it in Lin's direction. Reacting quickly, Lin kicked the creature away, retorting to Yang that he should keep it for himself. In the midst of the chaos, Su Tang gracefully fought in the air, engaging multiple monsters at once. She skillfully parried their attacks and countered with lightning-fast strikes. Her combat prowess left the students below in awe of their examiner. However, as one wave of attacks ended, another began. The ground shook beneath their feet, making it difficult to maintain balance. Suddenly, thick chains materialized out of thin air, wrapping around the arms and ankles of Lin and several other students, hoisting them into the air. One terrified student cried out for help, while others silently struggled against the chains, desperately resisting their restraint. A masked biker emerged, wielding a short chain, leaving his bike behind as he approached the captive girl. He got uncomfortably close to her face, speaking in an unfamiliar language. A nearby student shouted at the biker, warning him not to lay a hand on his girlfriend. The stranger's attention shifted to the student, revealing that he had been pretending not to understand their language all along. Tauntingly, he remarked that since he couldn't touch her, he would take advantage of the boy instead. Su Tang intervened, rushing into battle to protect the student. Meanwhile, still suspended in the air, Lin called out to be released, but his pleas went unheard by the examiner. In a determined effort, Su Tang confronted the biker, her eyes filled with a thirst for his defeat. However, her attack was easily repelled, sending her flying backward. Su Tang's fall was cushioned by Lin, who had managed to catch her in his arms. Being the hero who always appeared in critical moments, Lin vowed to seize the opportunity and save the day. Choosing the third option within the system task, Lin defied the defeat of the monster and resolved to save everyone. In response to his unwavering determination, he was rewarded with a shard of ability improvement, an acknowledgement of his resilience and growth. A nearby student questioned Lin's seemingly nonsensical actions, perplexed by his audacity. However, Lin clenched his hand into a fist, and it began to emit a radiant blue glow. Unfazed by the doubts of those around him, Lin set his sights on the formidable opponent, the boss of the gym, a B-class demon. People wondered how someone as seemingly weak as Lin would overcome such a challenge, but nothing could deter Lin on his path to fame and universal recognition. With unwavering resolve, he launched himself at his opponent with incredible speed, aiming his fist forward. In response, the biker cursed in English and effortlessly swung his chain, targeting Lin's face with formidable force. As Lin was sent soaring through the air from the powerful blow, a familiar presence appeared above him, Hungi, the demon who had crossed paths with him before. She gently took hold of Lin's hand and urged him to concentrate, instructing him to gather all the spiritual energy in his right hand. Lin's heart swelled with joy as he realized the secret to unlocking his true strength. A couple floats in the air, seemingly alone. Lin becomes worried as the girl's face gets too close to his, thinking she might kiss him. Wanting to take the initiative, Lin pulls Hong's lips towards his, but she freezes, either due to his audacity or the inappropriate timing in the middle of the fight. Harshly reminding him of their situation, Hong transforms into a terrifying demonic form, growling at him and sending him into battle. Lin is pulled out of his daydream by a voice and realizes he had been lost in thought all this time. The students ask him to help them first before he dies, since he seemed so eager to do so. The biker, displeased with Lin's sudden movement, prepares to attack someone. Hugh realizes it's time to be serious, as Hong taught him. He gathers spiritual energy in his right hand, ignoring the jests of his acquaintances pretending to be heroes while still being considered underachievers. The biker swings his chain towards Lin and Yang, but Yang, who has regained consciousness, warns him of the impending danger. It seems that Lin's end has finally come. However, he does something that astonishes everyone. He catches the iron links of the chain with his bare hands, asking the opponent how much porridge he ate. The biker freezes in shock, as no one has ever been able to stop him so easily. Lin challenges the biker to come straight into his hands and forcefully pulls the chain, bringing the opponent closer to him. His right fist burns with a blue glow, indicating that it's time to end this. With a swift release, Lin strikes the biker directly in the chest, dealing a powerful blow. Su Tang can't take her eyes off him, amazed at how he became so strong in such a short time. Yang is furious, believing that such a lowlife should never have gained such power. Unexpectedly, the biker, instead of being defeated, remains unharmed. He realizes that Lin managed to beat the blood out of him, acknowledging his prowess. Determined to try a different approach, the biker hops on his motorcycle, revs the engine, and heads towards Lin. Panicking, Lin runs backward, bringing immeasurable joy to the bandit, relishing in the taste of victory. The biker's wheels leave a wide skid mark on the asphalt, showcasing his mastery of the road and his drifting skills. The biker aims his chain to grab or strike Lin, but it snaps under Su Tang's swift and powerful blows. To her, it's a mere trifle. She requests that the biker be left to her. As the bandit's attention shifts to Su Tang, he fails to notice Lin climbing onto the seat behind him. Lin holds onto the man's bare torso, preventing himself from falling off the moped. Lin mockingly speaks to him in English, causing the biker's face to contort with discontent. Seizing the moment when the driver isn't looking at her, Su Tang strikes the bike's wheels. The bandit and the motorcycle go flying in different directions. Moreover, the bandit suddenly runs out of energy. Instead of dealing with this group of inept students, he finds himself facing his own demise, taking them to the grave. A glowing ball forms on the man's chest, growing brighter by the second, resembling a ready-to-explode bomb. Su Tang urges Lin to run, and the bomb explodes, creating a massive fiery cloud. The other students, along with the examiner and Lin, are unharmed. Suddenly, two silhouettes emerge from the smoke, Lin, walking proudly, and Su Tang holding onto him. Su Tang appears disheveled, with bruises on her skin and torn clothes. Some students are glad that Lin saved them all, while others are dissatisfied with his self-proclaimed heroism. Lin suggests to Su Tang that she might need a massage since she was hit in the chest, but she firmly asks him to stay away. After a few minutes, when the examiner is no longer present, the girls gather around Lin, openly admiring his strength. Not far away, Yang burns with envy, unable to bear their admiration. Lin receives a system message, informing him of a reward, 1 shard of ability improvement, further boosting his mood. However, he reminds himself to remain modest, as humility is a virtue. Meanwhile, the students notice an object flying in the sky, a drone with a camera. It informs them that the second stage has been completed and that the attack was planned from the beginning. The drone explains that the second stage focused on practical skills, while the camera recorded the students' performances. Those who showed valor during the stage officially become students of the Kanglin Academy. Surprisingly, Su Tang, who initially burst into anger, becomes the first to express her frustration, as no one warned her about the attack. It turns out she is an examiner, and the academy planned this to create a realistic environment. Everything would have been explained to her later. The student with the highest score turns out to be Lin, which prompts him to nonchalantly mention that nothing special happened. The same students who previously called him worthless garbage now lift him into the air, praising him and acknowledging his coolness. Su Tang observes the scene from the outside and analyzes Lin's future, recognizing his potential to shake the entire academy if he joins. In the evening, Lin returns home victorious and is greeted with joy by his sister, who asks if he passed. Proudly, Lin confirms that he is the coolest brother and has both the ability and acceptance into the Kanglin Academy. However, the joy is overshadowed by the thought that Lin's mission to the academy means he will leave home for his studies. Unaware of his sister's sadness, Lin dances up the stairs and promises to call Hua to share the news. As Lin stands by the open window in his room, he shares his accomplishments with Hua. She mentions that their late father would be proud of his adopted son and hopes that Lin will continue to strive for more. Suddenly, Lin feels dizzy and opens one eye, only to find Honi sitting on his bed. He asks her to behave less provocatively, and she playfully smiles, offering to teach him how to use his abilities. In return, she asks him to promise something unexpected: marriage. Floating in the air, Lin and Hong found themselves surrounded by an ethereal atmosphere. Hong's short dress transformed into an elegant gown that stretched across the sky, lending an otherworldly aura to the scene. Speaking with a calm yet determined voice, Hong revealed her plan to Lin. They would form a spiritual contract and be officially married. However, Lin hesitated, feeling that rushing into marriage without the foundation of a developed relationship was unwise. Hong, unable to accept his refusal, was overcome with rage. Violently, tentacles erupted from her chest, writhing in the air, as she forced a bloody contract upon Lin. Agonizing pain seared through his body as the tentacles connected with his chest, the excruciating sensation leaving him breathless. Within an instant, the tentacles retracted, and their union was sealed. Hong nestled close to Lin, savoring their newfound connection, while he gradually regained his senses. As his head throbbed, Lin experienced fragmented glimpses of another world, one ravaged by the presence of demons and gods who mercilessly slaughtered humanity. Century after century, heroes fell, unable to thwart the relentless onslaught until the moment of Hong's rebirth. The following morning, Lin's sister gently knocked on his door, rousing him from his sleep. Apologizing for the interruption, she was considerate of his tiredness from the previous day. As Lin's eyes opened, he noticed the absence of Hong, leaving him to wonder about their wedding night and the events that unfolded in her world. If the opportunity arose, he planned to seek answers from Hong. With a bored expression, he reminded himself of his impending departure for the academy, realizing the need to start packing and bid his farewells. In the afternoon, amidst the completion of all the preparations, the bus awaited Lin's arrival to transport him to the prestigious Kanglin Academy. Reluctantly, his younger sister clung to his hand, unwilling to let go. Awkwardly rubbing the back of his head, Lin assured her that he would return during vacations. Hua understood his growing attachment to his sister but recognized that she couldn't accompany him to the academy, despite his desire. Boarding the bus, Lin waved a red rag from the window, signaling his sister to take care of herself. She, unable to tear her gaze away from the departing bus, came to a resolute decision that she could not wait until Lin's return. She resolved to go after him herself. Upon reaching the magnificent surroundings of the Kanglin Academy, Lin was awestruck by the grandeur, particularly the presence of numerous beautiful girls. However, he chose to delay reporting his arrival and instead headed towards the teacher's room. Meanwhile, within the applicants' hall, a heated debate ensued regarding who would claim the exceptional first-year student. The dispute reached its conclusion when a woman stepped forward, leaning against the wall and lighting a cigarette, asserting her claim on Lin. Dissatisfaction rippled through her colleagues, who criticized her smug demeanor and made inappropriate comments about her physical attributes. Amidst the commotion, Lin finally arrived, seeking to offer his assistance. Multiple male teachers immediately rushed towards him, each vying to become his mentor. One tempted him with high-class medicine, another promised access to beautiful students, while a third guaranteed various rewards. The situation quickly devolved into a chaotic struggle as the teachers fought to claim Lin for themselves. Observing the brawl unfolding before him, Lin perceived it as a customary tradition within the academy. His attention was captured by a red-haired woman, cigarette in hand, who stood apart from the rest. Unlike her colleagues, she emanated a sense of composure as she calmly offered to be his mentor, addressing him by the name Zhang Tin. Clinging to her chest, Lin felt a mix of curiosity and intrigue as Zhang warned him against listening to the other teacher's deceptive tactics. Recognizing Lin's interest, Zhang decided to seize the opportunity. With a seductive gaze, she promised him the finest dormitory accommodations and a special position in the future. All Lin needed to do was acknowledge her as his teacher. Unable to resist the allure, Lin implored Zhang to become his mentor. She planted a gentle kiss on his forehead, requesting his unwavering commitment to rigorous training while cautioning him not to bring any disgrace upon her in front of the other teachers. Unbeknownst to them, Yang observed their interaction in silence. Satisfied, Zhang proceeded toward the dormitories, marveling at the academy's surroundings. Meanwhile, Lin gazed out of a window, lost in thought, when a young man named Xiang Qian approached him. As a disciple of Zhang and the senior responsible for conducting consultations with new arrivals, Xiang Qian extended a warm welcome and offered his guidance to Lin. Xiang Qian, who preferred to be called Fat Man, engaged in a cheerful conversation with Lin, asking for his impression of teacher Zhang. Lin candidly described her as a weapon of mass destruction, to which Fat Man leaned in, sharing his own experience of being seduced by her and becoming her disciple. He warned Lin not to fall for her promises of a future position, recounting how he had been deceived in the past. Fat Man's face darkened with a sense of bitterness as he advised Lin to stay away from the topic, revealing that Zhang's promised special position was nothing more than a bluff. Though seemingly unconvinced, Lin maintained a malicious expression, assuring Fat Man that everything was fine. Fat Man, sensing Lin's skepticism, lost his previous kindness and warned him to do as he knew. Meanwhile, Yang Yi stood in his grandfather's luxurious office and reported that Lin had become Zhang's disciple. Yang Yi's grandfather, engrossed in reading papers, dismissed the matter, assuring Yang Yi that he would handle the arrogant newcomer. He placed a dossier on Lin in front of Yang Yi, promising to exert control over him. Relaxed, Lin found himself lying in a hot tub, pleasantly surprised to discover that the hostel included its own spa. Suddenly, a woman's hand fell on Lin's shoulder, and as he looked up, he saw Hong leaning over him, surrounded by a cloud of steam. Surprised by her presence, he asked how she ended up in this place. Hong moved to the edge of the tub and explained that she was in his spiritual world, a space created from the hidden spiritual energy within Lin. She remarked on his immense reserve of hidden energy, lamenting that his overall strength was still too weak to fully utilize that inner energy. Nervously, Lin inquired if she had signed a marriage contract with him and entered his spiritual world solely because of his inner energy. Hong approached him, coming within arm's reach, and gently took his chin, confirming his assumptions. She revealed that her own spiritual world had already been destroyed, and accumulating a significant amount of spiritual energy in spirit form was impossible for her. Therefore, after each battle appearance, she had to replenish her spiritual forces. Lin, overjoyed, grasped her shoulders and eagerly mentioned the wedding night, promising to give her as much spiritual energy as she desired. Hong laughed and playfully called him a fool. Their intimate moment was interrupted by a knock on the door, causing Lin to swear in frustration, questioning why someone had to come at that exact moment. Lin opened the front door with a loud bang, stepping out onto the street and angrily asking if the person outside knew that lightning punishes those who interfere. However, he found no one there, finding the situation strange. Suddenly, a movement in the nearby bushes caught his attention. Before he could investigate, something flew past him and into the room. Curiously, he followed it inside and stumbled upon a yellow spirit perched contentedly on the arm of the sofa. Surprisingly, the spirit started talking and mentioned Lin's ability to dodge its attack, implying that he was not a weakling. Lin skeptically examined the animal, wondering if it resembled more of a man or a saint. The spirit, which called itself a weasel, explained that it was a legendary talking golden spirit known to seek out people at midnight and ask them questions. Based on their response, the spirit took on their form. However, it seemed that the spirit had already taken its true form and now wondered why it needed Lin. Just as Lin started to respond, the spirit abruptly lunged at him with sharp teeth, burning red eyes, and long claws, resembling more of a predator than a spirit. However, Hong swiftly intervened, stopping the spirit with her forked sword. Lin expressed his dissatisfaction with the spirit's attack, while Hong picked up her sword and suggested killing the harmless animal. Lin stopped Hong, addressing her as his beloved, and she immediately forgot about killing the spirit, pleased with his affectionate words. Lin suggested they have some fun with the spirit instead, turning it into something, perhaps even food. The spirit, filled with despair, was soon tied up with a red rope, tears streaming from its eyes. Hong and Lin discussed how delicious the spirit would taste, although Lin himself didn't really care about its taste. It wasn't every day that one had the opportunity to have dinner with such a rare animal. The spirit protested, almost barking at Lin and Hong, wondering if they would spare a little spirit. Hong, with a slight smirk, reflected on how just a few minutes ago, she had tried to kill herself, and now she found something else to be dissatisfied about. She was now wearing a white apron over her usual red dress, and Lin was sitting at the table, preparing for the meal. Approaching the spirit, Lin towered over it with a formidable rock in hand and set a condition: if the spirit didn't want to become food, it must answer why it had attacked him. However, the spirit remained loyal to its master and refused to divulge anything. In response, Lin asked Hong to start a fire, as they would have a dish called spirit on coals that day. The spirit growled, quickly betraying its employer. It was sent by Yang Guang, Yang Yi's grandfather and a high-ranking elder of the Kanglin Academy. Lin needed to be much more careful, such influential figures were targeting him. The system presented Lin with a choice in this situation: release the spirit, kill the spirit, or become a chef and prepare delicious dishes from the spirit. This timeline required more thought than usual. The first option was a tempting reward, but letting the animal go would bring about numerous difficulties. Perhaps there was a way to handle things differently, morally. Lin declared that he was compassionate toward living beings and, therefore, would not kill the spirit. He set the animal free, prompting Hong to call him in bewilderment, unable to comprehend his sudden change of heart. The spirit, almost in disbelief, cried tears of joy as Lin untied the rope. Sincerely, Lin asked the animal to leave as soon as possible, and the spirit started running, its heels sparkling in the process, thanking him and calling him a good man. The task was completed, and Lin was pleased to receive a reward, a bone marrow cleansing pill, which was added to his inventory. As expected, the task was successfully counted, allowing Lin to abandon the pretense of being a good guy. The furry spirit planned to escape from this den of demons as soon as possible, still crying, whether from the fear it had experienced or from happiness. Just as it attempted to flee, Lin appeared behind it, speaking in a sweet voice and asking where the cutie was going, stating that escape wouldn't work. The spirit's hair stood on end, and it slowly turned around, trembling all over. It asked if it wasn't Lin who had just let it go on all fours. Now, it had lost all faith. With a smile, Lin informed it that he did, indeed, release it but had changed his mind, and now it was going into the frying pan. After some time, the spirit lay tied up with ribbons, passed out from fright. Hong asked if her husband would eat the spirit now. Of course, Lin wouldn't do that, he had a better idea. In his hands, he held a spiked collar. The next day, the spirit woke up, tied with a chain to the collar, which had a bell and spikes. It felt as if more than half of its life had passed, and now it had been turned into a guard dog by some kid. This wouldn't do. The spirit cried out, begging for help from anyone who would listen. In the morning, Lin woke up and found his wife, Hong, still by his side. A sense of contentment washed over him as he realized that having a wife wasn't so bad after all. To show his appreciation, he decided to gently touch her while she was still asleep. However, as soon as Hong opened her eyes, she saw him and became aware of his actions. Hong blinked, noticing that Lin appeared stronger than before. Lin himself felt a newfound confidence, admiring his reflection in the mirror. Hong explained that the pills he had taken had not fully been absorbed yet and would require some time to take effect. Playfully, Lin suggested they have a little friendly fight to see who was stronger, but Hong blushed and refused, wanting to avoid any unnecessary harm. She asked him what she meant to him. Filled with love, Lin embraced her and sincerely told her that he loved her. Hong became shy and decided to leave, but before doing so, she reminded him that he would need external help to stay strong. This meant that he needed to continue training and pushing himself. Later, Lin attended the welcome ceremony for the freshmen at the academy. As he stood among the crowd, he contemplated Hong's advice, feeling unsure about whether to trust her method. The overweight man, who was in charge of the event, greeted the freshmen and noticed Lin's somewhat gloomy expression. Lin awkwardly rubbed the back of his head, explaining that he often attracted too much attention due to his looks. Instantly, most of the girls turned their eyes to him, acknowledging his handsomeness. However, the male students had a different opinion, believing that a pretty face alone was not enough to succeed in the academy. A brave girl suggested buying milk for Lin, but he politely declined, claiming not to be hungry. Enjoying the attention he received, Lin decided to portray himself as a noble prince, someone whom no one in the academy could match. As he continued to mingle, he came across teacher Zhang and greeted her with a wave. She introduced him to the seniors, including Morong Qingyu, a girl in a black dress, and Ho Feng, a guy wearing a vest over his bare chest. Su Tang, who was also part of their group and had served as an examiner, complained about Lin being late on his first day of school. Lin took the opportunity to playfully tease her, mentioning how she had improved her figure in the days they hadn't seen each other. Su Tang scolded him for his shamelessness, but Lin continued to provoke her. Teacher Zhang interrupted their banter and mentioned that she had learned a bit about Lin, surprising the overweight man by mentioning Lin Yuan, his idol and adopted father. Ho joined the conversation, acknowledging Lin Yuan as the strongest man in Kanglan City in the past. Lin was taken aback by how many people knew about his adoptive father, as he himself only had vague memories of him. Lin noticed Junyao nearby, looking stronger than before. He wondered about the methods used by teacher Zhang, who had been able to improve Junyao's strength so quickly. Yang Yi, the arrogant and malicious student, was also present. The yellow spirit sent by his grandfather had not returned, and Lin appeared unharmed, indicating that Yang's plan for a surprise attack had failed. The students lined up in front of the academy's leadership, where an old man with long gray hair and an unpleasant face greeted them. He introduced himself as the deputy director of the Kanglan Xianyang Academy, and expressed his pleasure at seeing everyone at the ceremony. He believed that the students had come with the hope of becoming the strongest, and the academy looked forward to their future achievements. Next, the outstanding first-year students were asked to come on stage to receive their Kanglan emblems and give an introductory speech. Lin wondered what the emblem was, and he learned that it was a special award given by the academy to outstanding freshmen. The emblems served as a student card for academy events and also had a spatial storage function, making it a valuable item. Lin was surprised by the treasures present in the academy, and the overweight man proudly showed off his emblem, jokingly mentioning that even someone like him had been an outstanding freshman. Chu Junyao, the first outstanding student, took the stage and delivered a speech, expressing her gratitude to the academy for the award and promising not to disappoint their expectations. Lin chuckled, realizing that she had already started making a speech. Yang, a freshman from the second group, followed and declared his intention to fight for the title of the strongest in the academy. Lin watched, waiting for his turn. The system presented 3 options for Lin's speech. 1. An official speech that belittled himself to eventually elevate his status, rewarding +5 dexterity. 2. A bold speech to assert his dominance over the teachers, rewarding +5 strength. Or 3. A positive speech meant to touch the listeners' hearts, rewarding +5 charm. Lin decided to choose the third option, wanting to become more charming and hoping for a good beating later since his muscles and bones wouldn't clean themselves. He proudly displayed his emblem, slightly distancing it from himself, and loudly proclaimed that while he accepted the title of outstanding student, he was the last person who should have received such an honor. He referred to himself as a weak and worthless individual, expressing his surprise that the academy would bestow such recognition upon him. Lin bowed low, thanking everyone for their condescension, and expressed his commitment to work hard and become not only stronger himself but also a pillar for the academy. His words had a profound effect on the crowd, who admired him with renewed vigor. However, Young remained unaffected by Lin's charm and became furious that Lin had appropriated all the attention and rewards. As the reward was credited to Lin's account, the ceremony concluded, and the students began to gather around the audacious newcomer. Junyao shook her head, realizing that only the grave could fix Lin. Young, satisfied with the situation, saw no need to intervene. Teacher Zhang noticed that despite Lin's craziness, he bore a resemblance to Lin Yuan, but he seemed to allow himself to be beaten too easily, suggesting there might be a reason behind it. Lin found himself in a dire situation, feeling defeated as no one seemed willing to hit him despite his pleas. Frustrated, he sat down and covered his face with his hand, contemplating his predicament. Hong, who was invisible to others except Lin, suggested leaving and returning another day, but Lin refused. He believed that he couldn't just leave things as they were, and needed to endure the beatings in order to absorb the power of the bone-washing pill for an S-rank body. Lost in his thoughts, Lin was approached by a passing student who was intrigued by his behavior. The student asked Lin what the point was, but before Lin could respond, a stranger chimed in with a suggestion. The stranger proposed that Lin could attract the Academy's wrath by confessing his love to Mo Qingqing, one of the 4 beauties of the institution. Excited by the idea, Lin realized that Mo Qingqing must have many fans, and if he admitted his love for her, he would surely be pursued by her followers. Hong, angered by Lin's statement, immediately sent a message to the Academy's public platform, declaring Lin as Mo Qingqing's waifu. She challenged anyone who disagreed to meet Lin at the square. The demon, feeling jealous, tried to control her emotions and calmed herself by pretending that Lin's actions were all part of an act. With a mischievous smile, Lin happily announced that they had taken the bait, and Hong leaned over the phone screen with interest. In a matter of minutes, a crowd of angry individuals armed with bats, sticks, and even machine guns rushed towards Lin, ready to defend their goddess's honor. Lin realized his mistake and became scared at the overwhelming number of people approaching him. As the crowd closed in, Lin decided to hide from them and return to the spiritual world, acknowledging that if his beloved wanted to train, he should do it as intensely as possible. Inside a classroom, a girl remembered Lin's face as he was the first person to openly express his feelings for her. Meanwhile, as Lin endured the beating, feeling the pain and fearing for his life, his attackers were interrupted by Zhang, who came to his defense. She shouted at them, questioning their audacity to bully her student. The appearance of Zhang made Mo Qingqing's admirers retreat, and she gave them a few seconds to escape before they all ran away. Zhang then turned her attention to Lin, who was lying on the ground, and wondered why he was deliberately seeking death with such a harsh training method. Lin awkwardly laughed and asked if she had any connection to him since she had appeared suddenly. Zhang, however, informed him about a minor matter, the opening of a spiritual spring at the academy the next day. Curious, Lin wondered if the spring was a relic left behind by a great master, and Zhang explained that when the world's spiritual energy was restored, many traces of energy were discovered all over the earth, including the spiritual spring. She described it as a hot spring infused with spiritual power that could help individuals become stronger. However, the spring would only be open for a limited time, and other participants would compete for the opportunity to visit it. Zhang emphasized the importance of gratitude and asked Lin to follow her, as it was time to fulfill the promise of a special position. Filled with joy, Lin recalled the warning that the special position didn't bode well, but he was determined not to back down this time. On a mountain behind the academy, a massive ball of earth rolled down the slope, and Lin, trying to escape it, asked if this was what his special position looked like. He didn't like it at all. Zhang, sitting on a stool with a glass of red wine, advised him to speed up his training, warning him that he might die prematurely otherwise. The special position turned out to be a diabolical hidden test. After completing the first workout, the second one began. Lin was tasked with doing push-ups with Jang sitting on him, and she informed him that there were only 1,000 repetitions left. The onlookers, the elders, found amusement in the newcomer's torment. The next test involved Lin sitting on a slippery rock under a waterfall with thorny vines entwined around him, while Jang whipped his back with the same vines. With only half an hour left, it appeared that Jang was genuinely enjoying the ordeal, believing that Lin would definitely make progress at this rate. Next, Lin stood on a raised platform, buffeted by strong winds, with a trampoline at the bottom. He had to jump onto the trampoline. Jang encouraged him to be brave and not be afraid of anything. The situation became unbearable for Lin, and he eventually collapsed on the ground in the evening, seemingly lifeless. Jang sat beside him, and during a brief break, Lin complained that he hadn't eaten or rested all day. Jang granted him a couple of minutes and suggested discussing his father. Lin revealed that he knew little about his ancestral past as his father hadn't told him much while he was alive. Jang, lighting a cigarette without opening her eyes, agreed and expressed sorrow that Lin didn't fully comprehend how great his father was. 10 years ago, an army of demons invaded Kanglan, committing atrocities and bringing humanity to the brink of extinction. Lin Yuan, Lin's father, fearlessly opposed them and defended the city alongside his elite squad. Jang was also part of that squad and had the privilege of fighting alongside Lin Yuan. They fought for the future of humanity, sacrificing themselves. However, the enemy had S-class demons, and despite numerous battles, the squad managed to repel the monsters' attacks. Unfortunately, Lin Yuan and the other squad members lost their lives in the process. Although Lin was just a hitman, he understood the honor of being the son of such a great man. After arriving in this world, Lin quickly adapted to the reality of constant fighting and forgot about his previous comfortable life. The people here only experienced brief moments of peace amidst ongoing conflicts. Jang reflected on the price paid for this fragile peace, the lives of Lin's father and the squad members. Following Lin Yuan's death, Lin joined the Superpowers Department and continued to fight and kill demons, protecting the city from the shadows. Lin made a decision to protect this world, and he was ready to continue his training under Jang's guidance. Meanwhile, a freshman named Muhi promised to fulfill the mission of getting rid of Lin, as assigned by the old man who gave him 1,000 spiritual stones. In the morning, Lin left his home, informing his wife, Hong, along the way that he was headed to a spiritual spring. Filled with anticipation, he believed that with the demon's assistance, Jang's guidance, and the effects of the bone-washing pill, his body would soon reach an S-rank level. As he passed by their sleeping dog, he playfully questioned whether it disliked the bone or had decided to go on a hunger strike. The spirit dog stubbornly refused to take anything from him, even the piece of fried chicken Lin was holding. However, Lin managed to persuade the spirit by sacrificing its principles and finally got it to accept the food. The designated location for today's cultivation turned out to be a surprising natural site, adjacent to the city that Lin had never expected. Jang mentioned the 500 spiritual stones hidden within the emblem, emphasizing their usefulness at the spiritual source. She advised Lin to use them wisely. Upon reaching the spiritual source, the students were instructed to throw the spiritual stones into it to release more spiritual power. Curious about the nature of spiritual stones, Lin approached a fat man and asked for an explanation. The man clarified that spiritual stones were natural stones containing spiritual energy, which could be used to restore spiritual energy or as currency. With Jang waiting for him, Lin was urged to return as soon as possible. Lin struggled to decide which source would be better for him to occupy. He cautiously opened the door to the nearest spring and unexpectedly found himself face to face with bathing girls, including Mo Qingqing, the girl to whom he had confessed his love. Faced with this unexpected situation, the system presented Lin with a choice: to discreetly pass by the girls, to jump into their spring and cause a commotion, or to apologize and beg for forgiveness. Choosing the second option, Lin jumped into the girls' spring with a bombastic entrance. However, his stay was short-lived as he was promptly kicked out. A passerby noticed that Lin had just been thrown out of Mo Qingqing's room, implying that he had seen her naked. Realizing he was in trouble, Lin's mind raced to find a solution. Amidst the difficulties, he eventually found a small spiritual source and immersed himself in the water, trying to find solace. Suddenly, Hong appeared before him, questioning if it wasn't enough for her husband. She gently stroked his chin, calling him a scoundrel, and playfully bit his shoulder. Caught off guard, Lin let out a surprised yelp, taken aback by Hong's sudden display of jealousy. Suddenly, a powerful explosion shook the wall behind them, creating a large hole. The stranger, whom Lin recognized as the person who had interacted with Yang Yi earlier, accused Lin of defiling Mo Qingqing and promised him a swift death. With a swift motion, the stranger attacked with a clawed paw. Lin managed to narrowly dodge the attack, but the stranger's strike shattered the spiritual source, causing a black hole to form. There was something beneath the source, pulling them inside. Lin desperately clung to the edge, but the stranger firmly grasped his ankle, suspending him in midair. As the ground gave way, they both plummeted downward, with Hong following her husband into the depths. Thank you very much for watching the video. Remember to subscribe to support the channel and leave your like honey. See you in a next video.